All right, we are back. What do you have for me today?
Check this out.
Okay, Rhude. This is a Rhude T-shirt here. It is a single jersey knit. Feels like there might have been an enzyme wash to give it this kind of like vintage feel. Got screen print, Rhude Awakening on the front. How much was the shirt?
This is 445 Canadian, 315 USD.
Okay, this is not a cheap shirt, but you know, Rhude is definitely up there in terms of pricing. We have a Rhude Awakening screen print on the back. We have a couple of darts on the back neck. We have a woven here, some neck tape, waxed cotton string, kind of a metallic-ish hang tag. And then we have another Rhude hang tag here. Rhude is carefully hand treated with natural materials to achieve the intended results. So probably an enzyme wash, as well as a clear hang tag. Nothing lasts, nothing's perfect, nothing's finished. Got this from Essence. Taking a look at the inside here, 100% cotton. You can see here there was an original label here that was removed. When I see this, there are several things that come in mind. Either this was printed on a blank, which I don't think it is, because you can see there's two neck darts here. It crosses over and it was under the neck tape. So this design element, I assume, is going to be unique to Rhude. It was done during the manufacturing stage. Two, when it comes to made in the US, you've probably seen made in the US with global components. And depending on the country, made in parameters are very different. So if it's made in anywhere in the EU, like made in Italy, the classification is the last significant transformation. So I think Dior actually came out with this when they made a very particular dress where all the sequencing and embroidery was done in India, and they assembled the dress together in France. When it comes to the US particular, it's 51% of the associated costs. So I'm not saying this is it for this particular case, but they could have made the shirt in another country, brought it into the US, did the screen printing here, as well as maybe the wash, and then finished it in the US. And then the cost to do the screen printing, the sewing on the woven, sewing on the tag, and the wash probably be more than the cost of the base fabric and the base shirt if it was made in another country. So I'm not saying that is the case. Another reason they could have done this is there is a tag here prior to washing to get this kind of vintage hand feel, and they want to protect all the care labels, and that's why they sew this on afterwards. At the end of the day, those are three kind of things that I think of when I see a label like that. And you can see there's actually two labels here. If it was for washing purposes, you could maybe have the size and then the specific style as a separate label, and then it's cut off to sew this on, or it could have been made in another country, who knows. So let's take a look at what else we have here. There's a little snag here on the fabric. This is what we would call a knitting defect. It's a fairly small one, and it's a black fabric, so I could see how that was missed. Typically what you're gonna be doing is once you get your fabric back from the dye house, roll it on this kind of giant light box, and someone's gonna be looking and marking up all the fabric defects, and you're gonna skip that piece of fabric. However, this one's fairly small, so I can see why that was missed. Let's take a look at the workmanship itself. Neck tape goes all the way to the sleeve seam. We have a neck ribbing here. You know, overall, I would say the workmanship is pretty decent. There's not a lot of untrimmed threads. The shirt being more of a kind of like vintage feel, fabric definitely gives that feeling. It's not an overly expensive fabric by any means. The woven's really nicely done. They're gonna have a different thread for the bobbin, which is the thread underneath on the sewing machine compared to the top, which is why you're gonna see here, there is a white thread holding on the Rhude woven, and it's black on the back. That's a really nice design element here. You know what, I would say overall, in terms of what they're trying to achieve here, I think they've done a pretty good job. Do I think $315, 440 Canadian is a lot for this t-shirt? Absolutely. You know, I think when you're looking at brands like this, you're not really paying for the garment itself. You're really paying for that community, the club you're trying to join by wearing this kind of clothing. So before we actually take this apart, let's try this on and see how it fits. All right, so taking a look at this Rhude tee here. This is a kind of vintage aesthetic t-shirt. The fabric itself, it's not that soft, but I think it's kind of lending to the aesthetic that they're choosing. Has a little bit of a drop shoulder. The sleeves itself, I like how they are a little bit more snug to the arm and a little bit longer. However, I would say when they probably designed this garment and when they did the original prototyping and sampling, they designed the shirts to be a little more of a relaxed fit. However, they didn't account for if they're gonna be doing an enzyme wash or any post treatments that are gonna shrink the shirt. So I would say the shirt itself is way too short. What I would have done in this case is I would have taken into account that your shirt is going to shrink, 5 to 10% depending on what kind of cotton you use and the knit, and take that into account into the length of the garment. So now that we've taken a look at the overall workmanship, let's take this apart and I'm gonna show you all the components you need to make this t-shirt. So first we have this safety pin with the hang tag, Rhude logo. All right, so now that we've taken it apart, here's all the components you need to make this shirt. We have our arm sleeves, we have our neck tape, our neck ribbing, our front panel, our back panel, as well as all the trims and hang tags. All right, so now that you know all the components to make this shirt, let's figure out what the GSM is and let's see what it's cost to make. $206 GSM. We have our base fabric, which is around 200 to 210. We have our hang tags here. These are definitely on the nicer side. I would say all these different pieces together would probably, with the safety pin, would probably cost closer to 30, maybe 40 cents, maybe 50 cents, depending on their supplier. We have our woven label here. This is pretty decent quality one, probably on 15 cents. This is our care label here. I really like the black and white touch. One thing to keep in mind is after this has been washed a few times, all this white's gonna start wearing off. 5 to 10 cents on this part. We have our neck ribbing, our neck tape, we have our screen printing. So looking at everything here, if everything is made in the US and the additional tags on the shirt was just because it's going through a wash process and they want to protect the garment, I would say this shirt's probably around $15 to make in the US, maybe 17, 18, depending on their supplier arrangement. However, if this shirt is made somewhere else and brought into the country and then finished, probably closer to the $10 side. But you know what, looking at this shirt in its entirety, this is clearly not just a basic t-shirt that's been screen printed on. The dart element, even though it's a small little detail, it brings uniqueness to the shirt. If I was thinking of how I would have improved this garment, I would have taken into account that shrinkage when you're doing an enzyme wash so that the t-shirt just doesn't sit so short. I've actually worn a gallery department shirt like that and it was really short as well. So I think just taking care of that would have improved this garment, but there's clearly a lot of design that's gone into this and a lot of thought and intention. But I think it actually can be argued that would Rhude have had such an impact on culture and the community if it wasn't priced at this price point? If this was at a lower price point, it probably wouldn't have that much staying power. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize when it comes to branding for these particular products. It wouldn't actually appeal to as many consumers if it was cheaper because it might have just fizzled out a lot sooner. Could the quality be better? Sure. But would I personally buy it? No, but I'm not the target demo. $315, would you pay that price? Let us know in the comments. So there you have it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and this is what it costs.
Scene one, take one.
We're back. Let me know what you have for me today.
Check these out.
Good.
Try one more time. Yeah, alright.